It's a real pleasure to receive you in this virtual room to discuss and analyze the European Union-Turkey relationship. This conference is organized by the Wilfried Martin Center for European Studies. It's the official think tank and political foundation from the European People's Party. I am Olivier Le Saeg, visiting fellow at the Martin Center, and I will be the moderator of this event. This conference will last 45 minutes and to receive assessment and position from our two guest speakers. It will have also the possibility from the audience to ask questions to our speaker through the Facebook page during the last 15 minutes. Today, our guest speakers are Mr. Karnici and Mr. Vlad Nestor. Mr. Michel Karnici is Director for External Relations at the Secretariat General of European Commission. He was Head of Cabinet of previous Commissioner for Neighborhood Policy and Enlargement. He was also member of Commissioner Cabinet and member of President Manuel Barroso Cabinet. Welcome, Mr. Karnici. We have also the pleasure to receive Mr. Vlad Nestor, who is member of European Parliament, member of Foreign Affairs Committee and Subcommittee on Defense. He is the EPP Shadow Rapporteur for Turkey. He is also the Vice President of National Liberal Party of Romania, in charge of Foreign Affairs and Defense. It's a real pleasure to have you both here. And to have directly welcome. It's a real pleasure that you accept our invitation to discuss the wisely and timely topic on EU-Turkey relations. Regarding our conference, the recent visit of Commission President von der Leyen and the Council President Michel has already confirmed the special and complex relationship between Ankara and Brussels. And it's not only a question of sitting problem, we know that. More specifically, above Erdogan provocation toward leaders and EU member states, in the summer 2020, Turkey unauthorized drilling activity in Eastern Mediterranean have relaunched the geopolitical tension and territorial dispute in this region. At the same time, Ankara action in a conflict zone like Syria, Lybia, Nagorno-Karabakh, and its pursuit of Russian missile defense system reveal Turkey's propensity to assert itself as an international power. On the other hand, through the deal on migration, Turkey has been providing a real support to EU member states to cope with the refugees crisis and manage the EU external border since 2016. Moreover, the discussion on the renewal of the deal on migration, the discussion on EU-Turkey Custom Union modernization, and the visa liberation imply a special partnership with this candidate country to join the European Union since December 1999. For almost 2 years now, Turkey has been one of the main topics of almost all EU Council meetings. In December 2020, the European leader adopted sanctions in response to Turkey provocation and action in the Eastern Mediterranean area. But the last EU Council leader agreed on the restart on Union cooperation with Turkey on key issues. And we see, sadly, that the last visit of the EU leader to Turkey, it won't be an easy task. Therefore, today, we have the pleasure to discuss with our two guest speakers on the characteristic on the EU-Turkey relationship and to bring a deeper understanding of the close tie and interdependency between Brussels and Ankara. For this purpose, I will ask first question to our guest speaker. First, I would like to ask you, to Mr. Karnici first and then Mr. Nestor, how do you assess the situation between the EU and Turkey, and how do you foresee the evolution of this relation, please. Please turn on your micro, Mr.
Going on here. Thank you very much, Olivier, and thank you to all the organizers. This is, as I said before, an extremely timely event. Couldn't be better after the visit of the two presidents in Ankara the day before yesterday, which I had the pleasure of taking part in. Look, EU-Turkey relations are in a very, I would say, strange and unsatisfactory situation. Strange and unsatisfactory because the last couple of years have shown that from managing migration to regional security issues, from energy to the economy, from combating COVID-19, the number of challenges that we face together and that we're in together is literally growing by the day. At the same time, it is also clear that Turkey has significantly moved away from Europe, from European norms and standards, from the international commitments that it has taken over the last couple of years. That is also an undeniable fact. So we are in the unsatisfactory situation that this very important, I would even say, strategic relationship is not functioning properly and therefore does not enable us to deal with our disagreements that are undeniably there, reap the opportunities that we have together, notably in the economy, but also in other sectors, and tackle the issues that we face together. So in other words, we need to put the EU-Turkey relationship on a firmer footing in order to better pursue these shared interests and tackle shared challenges. This has been, frankly, an issue because of the short-term escalation policy, some people might even say provocations by the Turkish government over the last couple of years, and of course also the domestic situation. So in short, while we would actually need to come closer together, not in a sort of semi-romantic relationship, but as part of a very calm, serene, pragmatic, interest-based relation, we're actually moving away from each other, or rather Turkey is at least partly moving away from agreed commitments and standards. And what the European Council has been trying to do in 3 detailed discussions in October, December, and now in March is simply to put out a phased, proportionate, and reversible offer to Turkey that should hopefully stabilize this relationship in the medium to long term. So we are now in a situation where, frankly, the jury is still out. The purpose of the visit of the two presidents on Tuesday was precisely to explain what the European Council has decided and what it possibly could decide further down the road in June, because this is a staged and conditional approach. This is a, if you will, 2-track approach. We have now put something on the table, but things are not, let's say, the incentives are not out there to be pocketed. They are, in a will, as the European Council itself put it, contingent on sustained de-escalation by Turkey, further constructive steps, including on the ground, and a strengthening of the undeniable positive dynamic of the last couple of months. We have seen that there is positive momentum in this relationship. We can all ask ourselves why that is suddenly the case, but regardless of that, it is a momentum that we should not throw away, but that we should use without losing sight of the structural challenges. And that is the message that the two presidents brought to Ankara. The ball is now in Ankara's court. We are committed to this phased, stepwise, proportionate, reversible approach. The ball now needs to be taken up by Turkey, and member states, and they are the ultimate arbiters of that, together with the European Parliament, expect credible steps of de-escalation until June. We very much hope that this offer that is now on the table is being taken up. We can go into detail afterwards on modernizing the customs union, on high-level dialogues, on enhanced people-to-people contacts, and last but certainly not least, on migration management. But it is now up to Turkey to give us a clear and credible signal. Secondly, President von der Leyen was also very clear that she was deeply committed to continued refugee funding, but that this, of course, needed to go through our budgetary process and not least the European Parliament. And that brings me to a last point before closing at this stage. Everything that Turkey does or doesn't do on the domestic front would no doubt color the assessment of the Council and of the Council and of the member states, and would, of course, and there are others in this chat room who are much more qualified to say that, would, of course, also impact on the overall willingness of the European Parliament, which plays a crucial role in this relationship too, to engage on decisions relating to Turkey. So there can be, in short, to sum up, there can be no doubt about our fundamental own interest in reboosting, reforming, modernizing this relationship. I don't think that an ostrich policy of ignoring Turkey would be the right answer, despite all problems. Geography is destiny. There are certain things, notably big neighbors, that you cannot ignore in life, but we have to do so more firmly maybe than we even did in the past on the basis of our agreed standards and norms and values and expectations. That is what the European Council set out. That is what was very clearly concluded in March, and that is what we're now pursuing with Ankara, hopefully in the coming months. But again, the final call will be made in June.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your assessment. And Mr. Georg-Lannister, we will be very much pleased to receive your assessment on this situation, please.
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. It is a very, very interesting and important moment for us all. When I say us all, I refer to us Europeans, because the relations with the Republic of Turkey is a very, it's an essential one from some very different perspectives. First of all, the historical tradition. Europe, wanted or not, from the 14th century, Turkey became a part, the former Ottoman Empire, but Turkey became a part of our internal businesses. Turkey is still here. Turkey is a real ally of most part of the member states of the European Union in their capacities as member states of NATO. And a very important ally, I repeat, Turkey is an important geopolitical player and it's a real power. But on the other hand, European Union is, must be, and will be a global player with specific interests and also with a very clear set of values. Unfortunately, the last 2 years, the report I was working on is analyzing, in that 2 years, a lot of European values were not at all taken in consideration by our Turkish partners. Speaking now from my perspective as a member of the European Parliament, in my capacity as shadow rapporteur, after a long debates with my other colleagues, with the rapporteur and all other shadow rapporteurs, after a meeting with David McAllister, but also with High Representative Borrell on that topic, I can tell that inside the European Parliament, the perspectives are very different. We are politicians elected and not at all technocrats. We are representing the 500 million citizens of Europe, and we have a clear mandate from this perspective. You see, Europe is in a very difficult and a very tough political reality from this perspective. As Mr. Carnimi just told us, a very pragmatic attitude is needed. That's why that explains the visit of the two presidents in Ankara. That explains the visit of the Turkish foreign minister in Brussels last year in December 2020. But the incidents happening yesterday created a new, let's say, political reality. Because I was in my country for 2 years in my capacity as advisor to one of our former presidents, the chief of protocol of the Romanian state, and I know exactly how important is every detail in a protocolar moment. I read today a letter written by one of my colleagues, member of the parliament, with nothing more than asking for resignation of President Charles Michel after what was happening there and his absence of attitude. Yesterday, in a discussion with my colleagues on subject concerning Turkey, my colleagues in the preparatory meeting of AFET, from the APP perspective, the APP group in AFET was there. There were a lot of colleagues very angry on that topic, accusing, of course, Erdogan, but also President Michel. I think that this is too, it goes too far, of course, but it is a sign which must be taken in consideration. We know all that the relations between European Union and Turkey is important. We know all the importance of the trade between European Union and Turkey. The European Union is the most important economic partner of the Republic of Turkey. But we also know about some actions inside and outside Turkey, from what already mentioned what is happening in Libya, in Syria, in Nagorno-Karabakh, and much more than that, for what's happening inside Turkey concerning the human rights problem, and why not concerning a sort of a political closure, you know, the almost disappearance from the political legal actions, the third most important party in the Turkish parliament, and so on and so forth. You have, I'm sure, all these details. The decision we'll take will be a very important one. On that subject, on that topic, my mandate as the shadow rapporteur was to preserve the real balance and not to provoke nobody, and to try to create, as I think the report in this moment is doing, to create a clear type of attitudes in the future positions, in the future developments in the report between European Union and Turkey. The Parliament will be very important. I know the report the High Representative delivered, and we agreed with it, but you'll see our report will be also very important, and I think that the position of the, I repeat, the elected body of that 500 million European citizens, I think this report will be a very important one, and I think that the Republic of Turkey must take it into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment and your assessment. It's true that through the European Parliament, regularly, we can see that Turkey is backsliding from European values, especially in terms of rule of law, democracy, and human rights. So that's why there's another question show up. It's the question of the main stake. What is the main stake of this EU-Turkey relation? Sometimes citizens do not understand, or we cannot understand exactly why we keep this relation so tight, and what is the main stake. So, Mr. Kardashny, it will be great to receive your comment and to receive your position concerning the main stake of EU-Turkey relation, please. Your microphone, could you turn on?
As I said before, the key issue for us, as we've pointed out across the board over the last years, is to put this relationship, the importance of which I think is quite obvious for both sides, onto a new footing. When I say importance, let's make no mistake and put the European Union into sort of a victim's role, which has also happened too often in some political quarters in the European Union over the last 5-6 years. The migration crisis was, of course, a major shocking event in some constituencies, and in particular in the member states most affected by it. But let's be clear about one thing. Turkey, even if it wanted to, is not in a position anymore, at least, also thanks to the measures taken over the last couple of years, to weaponize migrants and refugees against the European Union. They might try that, as they did in spring last year, and they got a very clear response from us, but they know that they cannot succeed doing that, neither in practice nor in the longer political strategic term. Secondly, economy. The Turkish economy, especially at this critical juncture, needs the European Union and needs the single market. We are by far the biggest investor in Turkey. We're by far the biggest trading partner of Turkey. We are a driver of modernization in the economic sense. So that heads the vital interest of the Turkish government, I believe, in the modernization of the customs union, which is also a win-win situation for us, by the way. So that's the purpose. Use the current, at least, let's say, positive momentum of the last few months, and we can all speculate about the reasons for that. Make it sustainable, make it credible, make it last. I think that is what we want out of this, what the European Council wants out of it, and what the European Union as a whole wants out of it. A pragmatic, interests-based relationship. Now, when I say interest-based, does that mean we should become completely Machiavellian and drop any pretense of, values, etc.? I would say values and interests, in this case at least, are the flip side of the same coin. We cannot be oblivious to what is happening in Turkey proper, not only on a purely, let's say, values level, but also because Turkey is a more unpredictable, unreliable, and frankly unstable partner, as it violates human rights, as it shows serious backsliding on the rule of law, as it itself moves away fundamentally from the international commitments that it has taken. So, in other words, I don't think this is about lecturing a bad pupil in class, which is the sort of unfortunate impression that the whole relationship often leaves. But it is about pointing out that closing a society and an economy rather than opening it up, and destroying the fundamentals, the fundamental checks and balances of a law-based state is not in the interest of a stable relationship with any international partner. So I think that is what we want out of that. There are a couple of specific issues, of course, the Eastern Mediterranean, the Cyprus talks, the exploratory talks between Greece and Turkey that would benefit massively from a more conducive political climate. But I think most fundamentally, the essence of what we have tried to do also with our report to the European Council jointly with the External Action Service is to help identify a couple of points, again, cautious and conditional, that help Turkey to come back to a more stable path in the interest of both sides.
Thank you very much. It's a clear understanding about the interest of migration crisis and the support to Turkey to manage its border. Mr. Georg Ladnister, what is your position and your perception of the stake of the EU-Turkey relation?
Formally, Turkey is still a candidate state. Formally, the process continues. We don't know exactly when and if this process will end. All our perspective in the report, and I think that in all other negotiations, starts from here. Of course, the economic interests already mentioned are essential. The investments, European investments, and more than that, the trade between the two parts. But and we can add to these the migration problem and the danger, theoretical danger provoked by these. But my problem is if I think that sometimes we seems to be too scared in report with these two realities used as political tool by Ankara. And I'm not at all very convinced that the government of Turkey really wants to accelerate the process of accession. We know that inside the European Union there are very different attitudes. Inside the European Union there are countries very which are not in a good mood in report with this reality, but the process is a legal one, and normally it must continue. During the negotiations about this report, there were a lot of colleagues who really asked for ending the accession process. You know, it was 2 years ago a vote of the European Parliament trying to trying to stop this process. Fortunately, with no effect. The accession process is a reality. There are a lot of voices asking for changing this candidate position of the Republic of Turkey and report with European Union to a new invented position. I hope we will not see these very soon. But pragmatism, you're right, it's essential. But a firm pragmatism and a proud one from the European Union's perspective. Because sometimes my feeling, as it happened yesterday, on the symbolic level, of course, my feeling is that these decisions are provocative. And we must assure that in our future, I hope, very good cooperation with the Republic of Turkey, incidents like that will not happen again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The question about EU candidate country as a Turkey, sorry, as a EU candidate country is an important question, and it appears clearly that it's a regular debate. Do you understand, Mr. Kadace, that with the last events and the last tension between EU member states like Greece, Cyprus, that some MEPs, but not only citizens and some actors, maybe think that it's time to end the Turkey accession process?
Well, I'm of course acutely aware of this debate, having suffered through various enlargement packages and their follow-ups and the very, let's say, interesting and colorful debates in the European Parliament in previous incarnations. Look, let's be clear. I think Mr. Nistor has very nicely captured it. We are where we are. Turkey is still formally a candidate country. At the same time, we have seen over many years now, and not just after the failed coup of 2016, but already before, a very serious backsliding by Turkey proper on some of the basic tenets of our relationship. By the way, not just the rule of law and democratic standards and human rights, but also issues like economic reforms. And these things did not happen by accident, but they were based on decisions taken by the Turkish political leadership out of their own strategic volition. So I think we have to make a very realistic assessment, as captured, I think, rather nicely in the 2018 Council conclusions, that because of Turkey's backsliding, the accession negotiations have come to a standstill and no further chapter can be opened or closed. So that's the status quo. That's where we are. That is undeniable. And secondly, it is also undeniable where this problem comes from. It is not the Council that has suspended, let alone terminated, this perspective. And of course, you can have a debate whether this should or should not be the case, but it is Turkey that has deliberately, or at least the Turkish government in its current composition, to move gradually away for reasons that they are politically answerable to. That's the first point. The second point is the accession process the right way to provide mutual answers to joint challenges? Also, that debate is something that I think needs to be had, because we should also be very self-critical as the European Union, in the sense that this scaffolding for reforms called the accession process, which it is in essence, it is a decade-long or even longer straitjacket for a fundamental transition of a candidate country, that does not give us the leverage that we would like to see over Turkey. Not on human rights, not on the quality of the political system, not on economic reforms, and not on sectorial reforms. Again, I personally believe this is not the fault of the accession process, but it is based on a conscious set of political decisions in Turkey. It is a matter of political will. And it is for Turkey, therefore, to take up this ball, to take up this offer that remains on the table and act accordingly. So in other words, I think it is useful and critically important and in a way undeniable and logical to have this debate in the European Union, in particular in the European Parliament, that represents the views of our citizens in all their breadth and depth and color, if you will. That is clear. And I think, given where we have come over the last couple of years, it is nearly undeniable to have this debate. But again, for me, it is, for the time being, not the decisive issue, precisely because the ball is now in Ankara's court, and they need to decide, at least now in the short term until June, how they want to play this. But yes, I do acutely understand why we have come to where we are in the accession process.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nestor. Concerning the EU candidate, concerning Turkey as a EU candidate country, it's appear that Mr. Weber, the EPP leader, wants to end and terminate this EU accession. And do you think that it's shared by all the political group within the European Parliament?
No, I agree entirely with what our co-participant just ended to say. I'm personally for continuing this process because it seems to be the only solution today to put instead these let's say, institutional form. Another one would be very, very difficult, perhaps with unpredictable consequences. Inside my political group, there are different positions. It's true that our president is much firm that the rest, the majority, a good part of my colleagues, I think also that from the European perspective, we've done our job, and is true indeed, the ball in Turkish yard, not in ours.
Thank you very much for your assessment and your comment. It's time to take some questions from the audience, and we have one question concerning to all of you, both speakers, about the conception to defend the interest of union. Some citizen and the participant doesn't understand that how the European Union or EU member state could defend the citizen toward the provocation and the action from Turkey in Eastern Mediterranean area. Mr. Kanashin, maybe?
Well, maybe I can start. Look, I think this is an extremely legitimate question, because let's face it, what we have seen in terms of provocative behavior is not worthy of somebody who still pretends to be a candidate country.
Yes.
That has to be very clear. We can all have our issues. Nobody says that border delimitation in the Eastern Med is going to be easy, even for lawyers. Nobody says that the Cyprus issue is easy. Nobody says that other contentious points are easy to resolve. But going into this with an attitude of deliberate, also military provocation, is not conducive to finding a solution. That is clear. And I totally understand why citizens therefore ask the question, why is it that we're still in this relationship with this country? And that's a perfectly legitimate point. I think our answer to this has been twofold, namely and I can only speak for the Commission, of course, but you see what the Council has done in 2018-19. You've seen the sanctions that were imposed on individuals from Turkey involved in the illegal drilling already in 2019. There's an extension of those sanctions is also, as you know, explicitly mentioned in the European Council conclusions. There were financial consequences. There are consequences across the panoply of our relations. But again, I think we need to move away from this sort of short-termism in which we let ourselves be dragged into a negative spiral of provocations and counter-escalations. Take a step back, and I hope that is what we have done in March together with the member states, and say, look, what is it what we actually want out of this bilateral partnership, relationship, whatever you want to call it? Let's focus on those things. Let's focus on a couple of things that are conditionally, of course, achievable in the medium term, and let's take it from there. But the argument to say it is unacceptable that a country that purports to want to become a member of the European Union, which is still formally the stated objective and commitment of the Turkish government, let's be clear about this, should also act accordingly. That is clear, but I think it's equally clear what the reaction of the European Union has been and will continue to be. Our first job, to put it bluntly, and with the Commission and others at the forefront, is not to be nice to third countries for the sake of being nice. Our job is to defend European interests, and I think that's what we're doing.
Thank you very much. Mr. Vlad Nestor, your perception of the situation?
There were a lot of debates in the European Parliament in the last months concerning mainly what is happening in Eastern Mediterranean area. And always, almost all the attitudes, documents, and the positions started with by expressing the solidarity with our two member states, Greece and Cyprus. First. Secondly, of course, it's completely abnormal, a candidate country provoking some member state countries. And that's why sometimes a lot of debates exist. Our main target here is to preserve and to defend all the European interests, And when I refer to European interest, I speak about Europe as a whole and European Union as a whole and all its member states countries. From that perspective, I think that the next development will put all the dissidents, the bodies involved in the final decision from the European perspective, from the head of states and government to the Commission, Council, and Parliament, all of them in a place where they have to decide. But there were also some good signs. Some good signs mainly around the Eastern Mediterranean spaces and withdrawal step by step, and also the restarting a sort of exploratory negotiations between Turkey and Greece. That is very good. And we can only hope that these direction will be the next one.
Thank you very much. It's a really huge topic, and we don't have a lot of time to discuss all these multiple implication. And maybe one last question for the last 5 minutes. How do you foresee the evaluation of this relation? I mean, concretely in the next months, do you think, personally, do you think that Ankara will be more cooperative, or do you think that we will go to a more provocative and more distanciation in terms of relation? Please, Mr. Karnacek.
Thank you. Look, I wouldn't be in my job if I hadn't somewhere a grain of optimism left. I believe what we have suggested to leaders in our joint report with the EES and what has now been, if you want, embraced and put forward by the European Council is a very serious and good offer for Turkey. It is, however, as I said, phased, proportionate, reversible, and therefore conditional. And it has a dark side as well. In foreign policy, people make cost calculations. President Erdogan and his team have, to put it very bluntly, very skillfully and very successfully reaped a couple of low-cost victories over the last years. They have been provocative with the European Union. They have tried to bully some of our member states, but they have undeniably and very skillfully positioned themselves in a number of regional conflicts, including, for instance, in Libya, in relationship to Russia, etc., etc. Now, the question is, does the Turkish system see its longer-term strategic goals, not necessarily through the pure and simple prism of EU accession, but through a more cooperative relationship with the EU, because they understand that we are the better, more promising, more reliable partner? Or do they see their strategy in ever more semi-escalation on the ground? That is an option that I wouldn't exclude. I don't think it would be a wise path to go down there. So that is the fundamental issue for me, and that is why I said the ball is now firmly in Ankara's court. We have said what we needed to say. The European Union has put the offer on the table. That was the purpose of the visit of Tuesday, to explain this in person and to make sure that there are no misreadings and no misunderstandings. I still hope, and I'm quite confident, that Turkey, at least in the medium term, will understand what is good for them. We should also make, maybe as a final point, not the mistake to believe what Mr. Erdogan is trying to tell us, namely that he is Turkey, and that what he does and what he wants to do, be it on the foreign policy front, be it bilaterally with us, be it domestically, is representative of a larger, let's say, volonté générale of the Turkish nation. I mean, despite all issues, despite all backsliding of the last couple of years, despite all judicial issues, there is still a vibrant political culture in Turkey that we have an interest in fostering, and this is also something that we need to look at. So I think the offer is now, in short, on the table. I hope it changes the cost calculation of some people in Ankara. Whether or not it does, it's too early to say. We will know at the earliest by June.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Glauvad Nestor.
Of course, unfortunately I don't know. I don't have a golden globe, a crystal globe, and but I really hope that in the next months, in the next short period of time, the government of Ankara will change the attitude. Will not happen again. We will not have the possibility to see episode and provocations last as we saw 2 days ago. And more than that, we will not see dangers in political attitudes inside Turkey, persecution of political opponents, and things like that. A lot of things, unfortunately, we saw in the last period of time. I am optimistic, and I hope that Ankara will play a fair game.
Thank you very much. As a conclusion, we can say, and we can see that this is really a longer love-hate relationship between the EU and Turkey. Yeah? And we still have to be optimistic, and maybe it's time to conclude and to finish this conference. We will have the opportunity to discuss more next time. And I would like to thank you very much, Mr. Konichi and Mr. Nestor, for your participation, for your assessment, your contribution. It was really valuable. I would like to thank the audience also for the question and their participation. And I would like to thanks also the team of the Matter Center for the organization of this conference. Thank you very much, and take care, because the pandemic is still not over yet. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.